Well, hi everybody. Welcome back. So, I wanted to put this video together because right now we are so in the middle of so many things, and in my corner of the world, it's exactly the same. And part of what I'm talking about in my life hacks, in the posts I put out on social media, some of them are funny and some of them are thoughtful and some of them are kind of up in the air, a bit of both. And what I'm trying to do with each one of them is share the path that I've been on and maybe make the leaning into the learning curve a little less scary for everyone. Because why should I be the only one to go through it without sharing some of the good and the bad? So here's what I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to talk about change. And the reason I want to talk about it is because it's a constant. It's all the time. We're always changing. What we're not always aware of is the leading up to the changes. We're busy. We're doing other things. We're facing the wrong way. We're living. And all of a sudden, ta-da, there's a change. And we didn't see it coming. And it's that. It's the didn't see it coming that surprises us and scares us, because being unaware of something that really rocks our world can feel dangerous. The ancient primitive emotional part of our brain that still thinks we live back in the caves, when there was a sudden surprise, it wasn't going to be good. It was going to be a saber-toothed whatnot, and it was lunchtime. So that part of our brain that pretty much runs everything, whether or not we know it, is always on the alert and always ready to shift immediately from whatever was going on to panic. Now, here's what happens when that comes along. We're no longer in control. We are held hostage to whatever is scaring us out of our wits. Something else is calling the shots. It's the roar of the saber-toothed whatnot. We, on the inside of the cave, shift into freeze and hide. We hope that if it can see inside, it doesn't know that we're there, and it doesn't decide to eat us alive. It's a terrifying place to be. And the real tragedy about being in that place is that we have evolved. We don't ever have to be there if we understand how to shift ourselves out of that place, if we understand what it takes to give that emotional brain permission to stand down, to relax. And on Tuesday, I showed you my anti-angst hack, how to calm the emotional brain when it's in panic mode, when it's afraid, when the signals it's sending are high adrenaline, freeze, hide, flee, fight. Because as long as those are the signals it's sending out, we can't think at all, let alone think straight, let alone take charge of our lives. And that's crazy, because we have these other two parts of our brain that are perfectly capable of doing that. So here's how we all get it wrong all the time. Here it is. The conscious brain has an ego. The conscious brain thinks it's all that. Oh yes, I can think. I'm logical. The conscious brain is an engineer. I'm now going to unleash the wrath of all engineers in the world. The conscious brain thinks, if this, why not? It's doable. It's logical. It's reasonable. The preconscious, the prefrontal cortex, the executive brain says, well, while it's possible, there's fallout. If this, then that. And the conscious brain says, oh yeah. So if we can bring all three brains together, we can create a strategy that puts us in charge of all the changes that change us. And that is pivotry. That is where the magic lies. We can recognize change and say, interesting, does it come in blue? No? How about orange? Oh, perfect. All right, I'll have two. As long as we can emotionally respond, intuitively grasp our role, its risks and value, we can logically sequence the steps we need to take, and we can use our very clever strategic brain to figure out how to make it work for the greatest good and serve us. That is like ultimate win, right? That's the ultimate win. So I've always said that change is only hard when we didn't think of it. That's because when we thought of it, it wasn't a surprise. It wasn't a change so much as a natural next step. When you spring it on somebody, they say, what do you mean green hair? Why? But if you lay out all of the steps in your thinking process, people say, oh, I see why. But at least they understand where you're coming from. So here's the thing I want to talk about. So this week, there's stuff going on in my circle of people. And I am being invited, asked, encouraged, empowered to do a lot of things that I don't normally do. I can only be in one place at one time, which means that I now have the opportunity to choose and to reshift, to reset my priorities, because these new things I'm being invited to take part in order to benefit everyone, are going to take up time I would normally spend otherwise. So what do? I have options. What do? This is a change that came out of the blue. All right. Okay. Now what? Well, now we figure out what to do. Abby, well, how do you feel about this? Okay. Let me see what I can do. As I say that, I'm automatically thinking and beginning to panic that there's only so many hours in a day, and I already fill them. I'm now going to have to reorganize, repurpose, and give up or delay some of them. All right. What am I going to do? Am I going to panic? Am I going to feel like a victim? Am I going to say, it's not fair? My father always used to say, when I would do that when I was a kid, not fair. My dad always used to say, if you ever have the opportunity to examine the box your life came in, nowhere on the box does it say contents fair. Thanks, Dad. So what do I do? Well, what I do is I look at the logic, the emotion, the possibilities, and I say to myself, what is the greatest outcome for everyone? And that is where I put my focus. There has to be an outcome for me. There has to be an outcome for everyone. Where is the greatest outcome for all of us? And then I try to get there the best I can. I try to do the best I can. I don't say I will martyr myself to this, because that never works in the long term. It's a Band-Aid. It's a panic Band-Aid. What I want to say is, how can I make this work for all of us for the greatest good? And then I focus. So I want to give you an example of how I put this to work for me quite a few years ago. I learned, before really most people knew, that there was an end time to the television series that I starred on called You Can't Do That on Television. I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. I knew it wasn't coming back. I knew we'd had a reprieve, but I knew what we had really been given was a kind of a final hurrah. And I thought that was a really honorable, intelligent, financially smart decision that everyone made in the decision-making chairs. What about me, though? I had become typecast. I was known all over the world as Mom on You Can't Fit on Television. I was known as the librarian and many other characters, but primarily Mom. There were people who watched the Care Bears and knew that I was three voices of Care Bears and other animations that I did. And there were people who heard my voice narrating documentaries and feature films. The big one, though, the one that the stone that created the biggest splash and the greatest ripples, was the kids show. What was I going to do? And it took me a while to think about, because my first instinct was panic, because the emotional brain. Now what? Now what? Ah. And then I realized that I'd had this work that I was doing in my private time, my spare time. I was writing comedy for me. And I'd had an idea for a long time that when I did get the time, what I really wanted to do was a one-woman show. I wanted to do kind of like the actress Lily Tomlin when she does her one-woman shows and she comes on stage, and they're all sketches of various lengths. And some of them are her just standing there talking to you about something, and others are her characters. The little girl in the big chair and the phone operator and, any number of them that became famous. And I had thought when I saw her first one, I would love to give that a try. I thought that could really be something if I could get my handle on it, if I could figure out how to write that and structure it in a way that worked for me. That was my goal in my spare time, because all the rest of the time, if I wasn't doing the kids show, I was doing voices. I was on the radio. I was hosting events. I was a celebrity in my little town. So here's what I came up with. I said to myself, you can't just say to people, hi, today I'm Mom and tomorrow I'm a teapot. Nobody accepts that. That's a shock. That's an abrupt change so great that no one will appreciate it. No one will want to know that that's actually happening. They want to be eased into it. They want to feel that the person they chose to care about is still around. The person they want to watch and be a fan of would never break up with them. They're still here. They don't want that relationship to end. That's their inner child emotional brain talking to them. And it's crazy to upset people that way. I used to joke when I was doing coaching for people who wanted to be entrepreneurs or celebrities or business owners or whatever, and I would say that the hardest thing is not creating a brand. That's the second hardest thing. The hardest thing is reinventing the brand, because if people truly love you, they don't want to know that there's something else. When you put a little thing on the box that says new and improved, they want to know why you gave them second best in the first place. What am I, chopped liver? And so you have to be sympathetic to their feelings. You have to think of fans as people who are in a relationship with the story that you've told. So when you're going to add to the story, the way you add to it has to allow them to continue to enjoy you the way they used to, only with sprinkles on top. Still me, plus this. Not so much new and improved, same. But by the way, you have a puppy. That kind of thing. It doesn't change me, and it doesn't change your perception of me. It makes you curious to see what else is going on. That is the real secret of subtle and gradual rebranding that keeps everyone involved and curious and excited about you. And when you think of the actors and the talent, the creative people that you have loved from one show to another, from one platform to another, the reason you've been able to love them as they take on new challenges is because they haven't said goodbye to you. They didn't break up with you. They invited you to come along. So this is part of the challenge we have right now in what am I going to do with my life? Do I still want to do the things I used to do? Have I hit burnout? Have I shifted into overwhelm where it's been too much for too long and I've just run out of steam? Or do I have that spark of curiosity that's going to wake me up and make me excited again about something new? And if I do, how can I communicate that spark of excitement and curiosity to you? That is pivotry. That is organizing an idea, a concept that only works if we can connect the emotional brain, the thinking brain, and the stage manager brain. Hang on, I'm going to have to come back. Hi, is this Chris? Oh, sorry, Carol. I redialed what I dialed you. Sorry, I'm trying to reach Chris. Bye. Hi there. Not bad. Sorry, you called. Awesome. I'm sorry I cut you off. I was in the middle of a video and I cut off that. Oh my God, that's Chris. So I ended the video. So I have some fairly decent news to report. We've got your dad eating up over 750 calories a day. So he's been having fresh fruit salad, porridge, not all in the same bowl. He's been having macaroni. He's been drinking the Ensure, and he's been eating meat and potatoes and juice. Not the juice in the evening. So he's been eating decent food spread out throughout the day. All of his choice. So what is happening as a result of that is he has a little bit more energy. He still has the vertigo. That's not going to just go away. That's right. What he's not doing is he's not needing to lean as much. He's able to walk up and down the hall without using the walls. His issue is, the pivot from horizontal to sitting up and the turning left to right. That's still but it's not as bad. And I think that part of that is because he's got more energy. He's got more to work with, right? He's got fuel. So tomorrow morning, what happened was we got the blood test. It was sent directly from the lab to the doctor, who called and said that they didn't like uh, the numbers. They didn't make sense. So they said, we want you to get a different one. And so they sent a request with different things checked on it. It wasn't checking high blood pressure. So that didn't, well, exactly. So that is booked for tomorrow morning. I bought the walker, assembled the walker. I've got Evelyn, the neighbor Dave Kaza's wife, who is going to come and help me navigate Dave down the stairs from the kitchen to the car. The clinic that we're going to is a pharmacy in St. Anne de Bellevue. So we'll go and do that. The appointment is for 10:30. So we'll get back 10:30 to 10:45. So we'll be back home before noon. Friday, his eye appointment. Yeah. So it's a trial run. The thing is that, I'll have the walker. We'll test it out. He's concerned because his vision is really not good. His depth perception isn't good, and I think that's the cataracts. Because they have been saying for the year that he's been going for the eye shots that he's going to need cataract surgery, but they can't do them simultaneous. So I think, because they were very positive last time, that this is not only going to be the last visit, but they're not going to have to actually give him the shot, in which case then he will feel a lot better. What seems to be happening, and I'm not trying to be a Pollyanna here, but what seems to be happening is there are no other weird side effects. Like, he's not throwing up any of the food. He's on Senecot and Metamucil. He's therefore had a couple of bowel movements. I'm getting him to eat more fiber. He's sleeping better. His focus has not diminished. It's still the same. His voice is not strong, but he hasn't used it much, So I think it was really hard to understand. I wished he told me it was you. He didn't have his teeth in, and he'd just wakened up. And when I said to him yesterday, you need to wear your teeth tomorrow. You need to get practicing. You need to be having the conversation, because he's not talking. And I said, if you speak slowly, it's easy to understand you. If you just kind of do a run-on internal monologue, you're not paying attention. I said, people don't know if you've lost your ability to talk. You have to. Yeah. So when we go and talk to them tomorrow, they're going to ask him questions. He's going to be the one answering. I'm there as his, support. The thing is, he's, I think normally, naturally, he's been really worried. Now that he said, you know what I'm going to crave? I crave a Big Mac. And I said, okay, so now you're also losing your mind. And he said, no, what I'm craving the beef, and I'm craving the sauce, and I'm craving the calories, and I'm craving the bulk of the food. So I went and got it. And he said, I want half the meal tonight, and I'll have half the next night. And then he said, I'm craving hot dogs, but I'd like beans with them. And I'll have this much and this much, so that I can gradually get my stomach to accept enough food. Oh yeah. No, and it's the hard thing is that when you lose your appetite, when you don't feel well, if you can't think of anything you crave the taste of, it's easier to say I'm not hungry. If he says I crave a Big Mac, then I'm shutting up about my concerns about Big Macs, and I'm getting him a Big Mac because there's stuff in it that is of food value. Red meat is protein, and he hasn't had a lot of that. And the same thing with the hot dogs. Am I worried about his salt intake? No, not right now. And so the combination of the porridge, the combination of the fruit. So the fruit is oranges, bananas, and raspberries. And I'm cutting them up so that he doesn't have to, say that it's too, right? But it's a bowl full though. Like it's more than he's eaten at any sitting. So I would say that the volume has doubled. The calories have not doubled, but it's half again as much. Like he's not near 1,000 calories yet, but he's at 700 or 750. Oh yeah, yeah. No, and the thing is too, you see that every time you're tired, and you haven't been there in a long time, but every time you're tired, it's harder and harder to get the effort. When you succeed, it's easier to make the effort. So he was worried that if he ate solid food, he would throw it up. Well, he hasn't thrown up anything. All that happens is in the morning. So he goes to bed at 9:00. He's up at 7:30, which means that he's been horizontal from 9 until 7:30. When he sits up, as slowly as we can do it, it takes about 5 minutes, and then he has the gag reflex going on. But all that comes up is bile. That takes him a couple of minutes, and then he's fine for the rest of the day. There's no more of that happening at any time. So I think that in the short time since you were here, I think that's a major shift. I really do. So tomorrow is going to be, Evelyn's going to help, and both neighbors are aware. Evelyn mowed the lawn. Evelyn raked the leaves. They want this to work, and Dave is very grateful to them. So, all right. So I will reach out and let you know after our adventure tomorrow, and I will. I guess I'm going to ask it, because I think they're going to take one look at him and realize that there's some, he's very frail. So yeah, I will. I went and got the spare tire fixed, so it's here. So anytime you have time, the only thing I'm looking at was the weather that friends of mine in Calgary got that included 2 feet of snow, and I thought, oh, that appears to be a possibility. So well, yes, of course. Yeah. I have to tell you, when I picked up the tire and I realized I had to get it out of the car so I can put the walker in it, I nonchalantly opened the back door and to pick up the tire, and I fell on the tire. How the hell do you pick up stuff like that? I literally fell face down on the tire, and I thought, okay, well, that's awkward. To leverage. I did, yeah. I had to leverage it out and make sure it didn't fall on my foot and lame me. I watch you nonchalantly do this, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, I'll just toss that in the garage. Anyway, I'm glad you reached out. I think that if what happened to him was a combination of the medication, a combination of the stress at work, a combination of just getting vertigo that doesn't seem to be necessarily caused by medication, because people can get it anyway. It feels more to me like a domino effect than some horrible invisible thing, because he's getting. Yeah, what you're saying, what you just said to me. You realize that vertigo is your body not wanting to see what it can see. That's stress, right? That's a self-defense mechanism. Yeah, And I have to tell you that when he, because he always has August off, right? When he went back to work, it really sucked. The stress was off the charts. It was crazy stupid. Yeah, because they've lost sight of the fact that if they make mistakes and try and rush the process, planes can fall out of the sky and kill people. They forgot that, right? He's the one who never forgets that. So it's been a burden on him, I've heard it every day. But as a result of hearing it every day, it's not that you don't believe it or understand how strong it is. It just becomes your normal. So I think this was a huge wake-up call, and so we'll see what happens tomorrow. I know. I agree. I agree. And I have to tell you that he had so much fun throughout August rebuilding my car. And yeah, yeah, he loved it. Yep. And he got to blow off steam yelling all the words that you yell when things don't get fixed the way you want them to. When I first met him and I heard him in the garage, I said, I didn't know you spoke that foreign language that begins and ends in K. Anyway, I agree with you. And I think he's been looking at that too. He thought that his mortgage was done in March in 2023, and it turns out that he had to renew it for 2023. So he's got another couple of years on it. So that came as a bit of a shocker to him. So there's lots, I think, to talk about in terms of what he wants and what's affordable and what we can do. Because even though this is a very small place, there's a lot of maintenance. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So that lots of stuff for that. And I'm sure that's all going through his mind as well. And because all of the maintenance of the house is stuff he really enjoys. It's not a burden. It's something he looks forward to. Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So there we are. I was so pleased seeing these gradual changes, and I was looking forward to giving you the positive update. So now I've been able to. Yeah, yeah. Yes, sir, I will. Thank you for checking in. I love you. Bye. Okay, so I'm back. I'm back. Did you miss me? I hope I'm back. So, in the middle of talking to you, the phone rings. And as I was saying, things are happening in a crazy way this week. And I had choices. I had choices right then. And I realized I had to put this on pause and answer the call, take care of what was needed to be taken care of so that I could come back and carry on. This is what happens when you say, whatever is going to happen, I'm going to lean in and figure out how to make this work. And before I tell you this really cool thing that I did that I think is this great example of what I'm trying to talk about, I want to say that we see all these people all the time talking about, you can think your way through this, you can do this, all you have to do is, It's so important to stay positive. These are all really wonderful things that people are saying, and they are saying them from the heart, and they mean them, and they believe them. What they don't offer is the how-to. They don't explain the process. They don't discuss what has to happen inside your brain to allow you to even begin. They never talk about these things. Sometimes they're waiting to tell you later, or they simply don't know that a process has to be followed. Everything is a process. So, where I want you to take some value from this particular video is this: we are not born automatically knowing how to be the best version of ourselves. We're also not born automatically feeling unworthy. Both of these options are things we learn. Everything is learned. Everything. Except the basic automatic survival functions like breathing and blinking that the emotional brain takes care of. So if we can be taught to feel good about ourselves, we can also be taught to feel like losers. If we're afraid, if we feel that we have no value, if we can't see our way up from where we are, if we don't know how that could be done, even if we were ready, it's like climbing Mount Everest without having the faintest idea or any equipment at all. And this can be really demoralizing. If you're already overwhelmed, this can just be, why do I even bother to try? And I feel so badly when I see that happening to people, because there is a fix. There is a fix. And it is remarkably simple once you see it. But you do need to have the tools, and you do need to know how they work. So I'm not going to go into that or through that today. What I do want to do is I want to show you an example of what happened when I put the pieces together, when I figured out how I could bring people along with me once my career on You Can't Live on Television was over. What I had to come up with was the next step before the step after that. I had to be able to take people by the hand and get them excited to see what's she going to do next. So here's what I did. I thought about my most successful character, and I thought about the influence and the impact she had and who people thought she was. Valerie Prevert, I gave her her name. Valerie Prevert was a well-meaning, upbeat, confused most of the time housewife. She presumably had a life before she met Senator Lance Prevert, but we're never really sure what that was. And she went through life doing the best she could and looking for the best outcomes. Harmless, inclusive, and flaky. How could I bring people to get to know the woman inside Mom? How could I teach them who Abby Haggard is? How could I give them the opportunity on their terms to say, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what that's about. Just get them curious enough to want to check it out. How could I do that? And that took me a long time. That wasn't an overnight click. Here's what happened. I said to myself, well, here's the first thing. My own humor is obviously Mom and many other things. So I can write content. I can put on a show. I can give people a chance to see Mom evolving, to give them a chance to see the actress, to see the person and Mom back and forth, in and out, so that nothing is a big horrible shock. I can do that if I can write the content, because I know who Mom is and I know who Abby is and I know the kinds of things I want to say. How can I do that as a visual? What can I do to make people say, oh, what's that? And get them curious enough to come and check it out. So I thought about Mom, and I thought about the most iconic quality. And the funny thing is that certainly the costume, certainly the awful dress and the ridiculous apron, and certainly the hair, but really the item that was the make or break for me on the show was the yellow rubber gloves. Because for the first season, I didn't have them. The decision maker said, she doesn't look like a housewife. Her hands, she doesn't look like a housewife. They're too, they're professional. They're la-di-da. I said, well, I could put on gloves. If I put the gloves on, no hands. So I did. And the rest is history. I said to myself, well, what if the big reveal, the transition from pure Mom to Abby Mom, what if that is an exercise in taking those gloves back off? I put them on, I could take them off. So this was the poster, this was the artwork, this was the rebranding I designed to allow people to own this change that changed everything for them and for me. Do you like it? Is it cool? What we did was we tapped into the talent of one of my lovely Canterbury boys, and he came up with the artwork. He came up with the graffiti. And then I did a little pop art color add to it. And there we have it. And Gloves Off was so interesting a show. It was all short sketches. And it was an hour long. And somebody invited the You Can't Do That producer to come and see it. And it like, blah, 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 blah. He came to see it. And at the end of the show, when I came up from backstage and I said, so, what do you think? And Roger said, how long have you been able to do this? And I said, what? Read, write, produce, act? And he said, all right, I deserve that. I'm going to do something for you. And he arranged for the studio where we did the kids show to produce a video of it that only aired once. And it's in mothballs somewhere. Half-hour special starring me with all the sketches and characters that we felt were suitable for television. It happened a long time ago. It happened in a way that allowed my audiences locally in Ottawa and the critics locally in Ottawa who hadn't seen me doing anything of my own writing for quite a while, ever since the show began, to realize that I was still around and I still had something to say. And I have done this same thing again when I decided, through the advice of some very clever media people, that I needed to get on social media and I needed to introduce myself to a whole new audience of people, not only fans from the show, but new people, new friends, people I've known from other walks of life, from the military, from all the other things that I've done, to get myself into the new technology. And it's been very gradual because I'm, a bit of a technoklutz. However, I have, a few thousand followers and friends and fans. And I've started doing these videos because the objective is to give you a chance to walk with me, work with me, own the changes with me that allow us to talk about who we are and what we can be, and not allow fear to hold us hostage. Does that sound like a good deal? I hope so. Anyway, I'm going to have to go. I have to call some more people back. Thank you for letting me kind of wander through this video. I'm going to have it live tomorrow at the usual time at 10 a.m., even though I will be running errands at that time. And I will follow up afterwards so that there will be another video that you can check out. And I will be explaining everything from my place on Facebook. So until I see you again, because I will see you again, you know the drill. Please like, comment, get your friends to subscribe. We're still at only 128 subscribers. Be good to you and hug your loved ones. You are amazing. So are they. And we're all in this together. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye for now.